First at 5. From the University of Florida's College of Journalism and Communications, you're watching WUFT News.
Good evening and welcome to WUFT News First at 5. I'm Fariha Abrar.
And I'm Francis Capper. Thanks for joining us.
You know, Francis, I was going to start complaining about this cold weather, but you know, we actually have it really easy here in this newsroom.
Yes, I know. I have some friends up north who really wish they were down south with here. Tonight, temperatures will drop into the 30s, and that means that cold weather shelters and drives are open. WUFT's Ophelia Jacobson joins us live to tell you how you can help those in need.
Fariha, Francis, we've all been feeling the cold recently, but the people who are feeling it the most are the people without a home. That's why one group is stepping up to help and encouraging people like you and me to do the same. The Greater Gainesville Young Professionals is hosting a cold weather drive now through February 8th. The group collects jackets, blankets, and other items that keep people warm. The 5 drop-off locations are on your screen now. I spoke to the program director of this group, and she says it's a great opportunity to think more than just about yourself.
I think that the thing a lot of people don't realize is how many people are in need and how providing something like items for them to get through cold weather nights when, yeah, okay, it's 30 degrees and we can go inside and turn on the heater and we're fine. A lot of people don't have that opportunity.
Grace Marketplace will also provide cold night shelter services to those in need now through January 28th. It will be reactivated if temperatures drop below 45 degrees overnight. For now, let's send it back to the studio to WUFT's Sean Humphrey to see just how cold it might get this weekend.
Well, it's certainly going to get cold overnight. Right now, I'm enjoying my last few hours of what I call peace, because as soon as I get home, I'm going to have to crank that heater up, go inside, and wipe icicles off of my eyelashes. Maybe I'm exaggerating a little bit, but here at the Campus Cam, University of Florida, it's nice and clear. But as I said earlier, I'm not going to be stargazing. I'm going to be staying inside, having my peace. Around North Central Florida, much of the same, mid to high 50s, low 60s around the area, up to 61 down south in the Villages, 60 degrees in Gainesville. And as you look ahead to this evening, you see those temperatures starting to dip, especially when you get down to 10 p.m. Temperatures start approaching overnight lows. Low in Gainesville, 35 degrees. So you get down to 10 p.m., you're out downtown, it's going to get even colder. So back to the desk.
Some flags have been raising concerns around Micanopy, specifically pennant flags.
That's right. The town's code ordinance defines pennant flags as any flag attached to a rod at one or two edges hanging loose, regardless of its content. I spoke with Micanopy locals this morning to hear what they think is the real issue at hand.
Flags serve as symbols. Some use them to represent their country, others to represent themselves.
It's a statement. It's free. It's free speech. It's saying, look, you're welcome here.
That is the biggest part of this conversation, is expressing yourselves.
Local shop owners in the historic district of Micanopy use flags to draw attention, signaling that they are open for business. But the locals are divided about what they want to see displayed in their historic town.
It makes it hard for us to talk about these things if it becomes verboten to use the words that you use to describe yourself.
According to records, Micanopy issued a total of 7 code violations in 2022 alone. On November 30th, Town Administrator Sarah Owen issued 4 of those violations to 4 separate businesses after receiving complaints about the flags displayed outside the shops.
Unfortunately, after receiving the complaint several times, I looked into the code, and it does, and it clearly says pennants are not allowed.
The Micanopy Land Development Code ordinance defines pennant as any flag-like piece of cloth, plastic, or paper attached to any staff, cord, building, or other structure at only 1 or 2 edges, with the remainder hanging loosely.
We admit that the definition of a pennant in our Land Development Code could be a little more clear, but I would just like to affirm that this was in no way, shape, or form targeting any type of flag or sign. And it was sent to multiple property owners that had similar signs.
Town of Micanopy has both got to change and also figure out what to keep, because there are things that are worthy of preservation.
Firefighters rescued a teenager from a tree in High Springs last night. Crews found the 13-year-old 30 feet from the ground in a large tree. He was successfully rescued by High Springs Fire and Police Department and Alachua County Fire Rescue.
The Pinellas County School Board banned Toni Morrison's book, The Bluest Eye. A parent blasted the school board for including the novel in a literature course. This decision comes after the State Board of Education's new training requesting schools vet all books that may, quote, harmful to minors. The book became one of the most challenged in America in recent years. University of Florida Provost Joe Glover announced his resignation via email. His record-breaking tenure lasted 15 years. WFT.org reported on the provost's achievements following his resignation announcement. During his 15-year tenure as provost, he had a strong emphasis on education in STEM. He oversaw the creation of UF Online, which is now ranked the #1 online bachelor's program in the U.S.
We just have so much to celebrate about what's been accomplished with Joe Glover as our provost. And so in some sense, I'm a little bit sad for the university that will end.
President Fox closes out his tenure this week. Ben Sasse takes his seat as the president of the university on February 6th. He will prompt a nationwide search for a new provost. Alachua County Public Schools named Karen Kearney the 2023 Teacher of the Year last night. Applause erupted as Buchholz High School recognized the science teacher of 21 years. Two other finalists, Lily Marie Gore from Sydney Linear School and Richard Thomas from Kanapaha Middle School were also celebrated. Collectively, they have nearly 60 years of experience in education. Around 500 people, ranging from students to the school board members, were in attendance.
So it is my honor and privilege to announce the 2023 Alachua County Teacher of the Year, and it is Karen Kearney from
That is certainly a lifetime achievement for a teacher.
When we come back, we'll discuss increased gas prices. And we'll view the new body camera footage from the Paul Pelosi attack. That and more coming up.
You're watching WUFT TV News.
Welcome back. President Joe Biden released a statement Thursday about the death of Tyre Nichols, calling for peaceful protest as Memphis police prepare to release the body cam footage. Biden expressed his support for the Nichols family, saying they deserve a swift, full, and transparent investigation. Nichols died 3 days after he was pulled over in a traffic stop earlier this month. The 5 police officers involved in Nichols' death were fired last week after an administrative investigation found that they violated the department's policy on use of force. Memphis police plan to release the body cam footage this evening.
She didn't see the video. You saw the video?
Yes.
What are we going to see, Rodney?
From the initial encounter.
You can't even look that way when he talks about the video.
No. I didn't want her to. I didn't want her to see the video or hear the video. It was our attorney's request that she could stay in there as long as she could. She heard one word and had to leave out the room. And that was when they initially was pulling him out the car. He said, "What did I do?"
I knew that's what he said.
He said, "What did I do? Why are y'all doing this to me? What did I do?" And they proceeded to snatch him out of the car and was trying to wrestle him to the ground. And he got scared.
San Francisco police released the body cam footage from the day Paul Pelosi was attacked in his home in October. The release comes after a judge granted a motion by various news organizations asking that the evidence be made public. On October 28th, Pelosi called 911 about an incident at their home involving a man who broke in and demanded to know the whereabouts of Pelosi's wife, Nancy Pelosi. Police found Pelosi and the suspect, David DePape, holding onto a hammer. DePape is now facing federal and state charges in connection to the alleged attack. DePape pleaded not guilty to the charges. Gas prices are back on the rise across the nation. The national average for regular gas has jumped $3.50 a gallon, a 12-cent increase from last month. Experts say this rise is unusual for this time of year. Prices are usually lower due to winter weather keeping more people off the roads. The national increase is said to be a supply issue. Extreme weather conditions near the end of last year caused a series of outages at the refineries that produce gasoline, jet fuel, and diesel fuel. It's been tough to stay warm today, but that's okay for the alliteration at the First at 5 desk.
That's right. Frozen Francis and Freezing Fariha have been steering the ship today. Sean, I hate to leave you out of the alliteration party, but we do need to let our viewers know about the weather.
Well, Shivering Sean says I'm still on the invite list. Temperatures around north central Florida below freezing in some cities. I'll have that for you and more after the break.
You're watching WUFT TV News.
Well, overnight it's expected to be Florida frigid. That means those temperatures up north might be worse, but 35 degrees is plenty cold for me. That's your overnight low. But as you look at tomorrow, it starts warming up just a little bit. It'll be cool throughout the day tomorrow. Highs at 68 degrees. Nice and cool throughout the day. You might need a windbreaker though. And if we look ahead, we look at the campus cam here today, sunshine, sunny skies, and that means it'll be a nice sunset. Good stargazing weather unless you don't like the cold. So if you can have a few layers or strap on a nice jacket, you'll head outside and it'll be nice and cool. Well, cold for you. But as we look at the temperatures around the area right now, pretty constant everywhere. 59 degrees in Gainesville, 61 degrees in Archer, but most of the area high 50s, low 60s, much of the same everywhere. Not quite super duper cold, but when we get into the night, those temperatures will dip into the 30s around much of the area. The breeze is also causing an issue, depending on how you look at it. And that 8-mile-per-hour breeze is going to make it feel a little bit chillier than the temperature tells you it is right now. But as we look at the hour-by-hour forecast, we get a look at how cold it will get and how quickly it will get that cold. We are under a frost advisory for the morning tomorrow, 39 degrees around 3 a.m. But remember, overnight lows at 35 degrees. Here's what that looks like around the area and around north central Florida. It's cold enough to make Ant-Man crawl into a mouse hole. 35 degrees in Gainesville, down to freezing, 32 degrees in High Spring and 31 degrees in Perry. And as you look at the highs tomorrow, once again, pretty cool around the area, 66 degrees in Gainesville, down to 70 in the Villages. And as you look at the 6-day forecast, 35 degrees once again, the low on Saturday. Temperatures constant over much of next week, low 50s up to the 60s. Back to the desk.
Thanks, Sean. Now for a continuing story here in Florida. The State Department of Education rejects AP African American Studies from the school curriculum. WUFT's Chris Will joins us now in the studio with insight into more about what the course is all about. Chris?
Yeah, Fariha, the decision to keep the advanced placement course out of Florida schools certainly caught a lot of attention in the public eye. People have lots of questions about what the course is and what it isn't. I sat down with the Director of African American Studies right here at UF to learn a little bit more about what goes into this area of education. Dr. David Ken is the Director of African American Studies at the University of Florida.
They teach about African American life, history, and culture from an African American perspective.
The Florida Department of Education rejected a proposal that would put advanced placement African American studies in high schools.
That's a political agenda. And so that's the wrong side of the line for Florida standards. We believe in teaching kids facts and how to think, but we don't believe they should have an agenda imposed on them.
The course that was proposed, I mean, obviously you hear a lot of talk in the media. What are some of the biggest misconceptions about it?
Well, obviously, they think the course is designed to make students into left-wing radicals or activists, that it indoctrinates students to see the world a particular way and do something about it. These are the arguments, these are the individuals, organizations, and institutions that support these positions. Students get the information, then they decide what they want to do with it.
The rejection comes after the DeSantis administration passed a series of laws to restrict how race and gender are discussed in classrooms. Laws like the one dubbed Stop the Woke that remove critical race theory.
When I heard it didn't meet the standards, I figured, yeah, they may be doing serious. It's way more than that. This course on Black history, what's one of the lessons about? Queer theory. Now, who would say that an important part of Black history is queer theory? That is somebody pushing an agenda on our kids.
Governor DeSantis kind of went on record saying that one of the major kind of problems he saw with the curriculum was this section on queer theory. Right. Do you mind shedding some light on kind of what role that has in African American studies?
There's always been LGBTQ within African American communities. So in other words, what they're saying is you can study those in Black history, but don't study their sexual orientation. Somehow separate that.
Canton says that when the two sides meet again, he hopes there will be an open conversation about what the course is at its core. Canton is also a faculty advisor with College Board. He's in charge of working with university leadership to ensure that courses count as college credit. College Board will be reworking the framework of the course and meeting with state officials in about a month. Sports is after the break. Please stay with us.
You're watching WUFT TV News.
Welcome to sports. I'm Juliana Rickenbaugh. We're not going to stay here for too long. The Gator baseball team begins practice today for the upcoming season. We'll take you to Condren Ballpark, where Gabriella Vitale's got the scoop. Gabriella?
Thanks, Juliana. I'm here as the Florida Gator baseball team is having their first scrimmage in preparation for their spring season. They'll open the regular season here at Condren Ballpark February 17th against Charleston Southern. But you can watch their scrimmages here up until then. Tomorrow's scrimmage starts at 1, while Sunday starts at noon. The Gator baseball team is the only program in the country with 3 top 20 college prospects for the 23 MLB draft. They have also been ranked number 3 in the country by Baseball America and number 7 by D1 Baseball. Back to you.
Thanks, Gabby. Meanwhile, Santa Fe College began its season today. They hosted TNXL Academy. Santa Fe's pitching was very effective in this game. Meanwhile, the offense pitched in to take an early 4-0 lead. In the end, the Saints won the game. In under 20 minutes, the number 2 Florida Gator gymnastics squad hosts number 17 Georgia. Last time the Gators competed in the O-Dome, they scored not 1, not 2, but 3 perfect 10s. Leanne Wong and Trinity Thomas will look to round off to another top 25 win tonight at 5:45. After a slow start, the Gator men's basketball team has won 5 of its last 6 games. Tomorrow, they have a chance to pick up a road win against the top 5 team in Kansas State. And all eyes will be on former Gator Keontae Johnson as he plays against his former team. Since transferring to Kansas State, he leads the Wildcats with 18 points and 7.5 rebounds per game. Florida head coach Todd Golden says he wanted Johnson to stay with the Gators, but he wasn't able to be cleared to play.
Those decisions were made before I got here. You know, that he had his situation, and if he wanted to continue playing, it would probably have to be somewhere else. So we tried to support him and obviously help him get graduated and make sure he finished strong. And, you know, we're happy for him that he's had really good success.
Golden says the Gators will have to mentally treat him like any other player they play. However, they'll have to limit his drives to the rim and keep him out of the paint and off the free throw line. Tip-off is set for 6 p.m. Moving over to high school boys hardwood, the Newberry Panthers hosted Westport last night. The Panthers got off to a hot start, up 26-13 at the half. But the Wolfpack clawed their way back to cut the lead to 7. Freshman Jawan Scipio got hot from the three-point land for the Panthers as he scored 21 points. Now 18-4, Newberry head coach Patrick Green says he's proud of how his team fought.
We deal with a lot of adversity, and I think we just next man up mentality type of deal. You know, I really didn't know how we were going to play tonight. We had several starters out tonight, had to pull up a couple of JV guys, and they just next man up. They just played hard.
That's all for sports. Back to you.
Thanks, Juliana. And before we go, one last check on the weather with Sean.
Well, my hour-to-hour forecast is showing me that it's getting colder and colder by the hour, and we're not even at the overnight lows by 3 a.m. It's going to get down to 35 degrees, and I'm not feeling it, but I will be feeling it later, trust me. And if you want to look at those lows for the area, here I am back in the frame to tell you all about it. I turned the wrong way, but that's okay. 35 degrees in Gainesville, down to 33 in Newberry, and down to freezing 32 degrees in High Springs. The rest of the 6-day forecast. Let's skip ahead to that because I don't have much time, but hey, look at it. This week, no rain expected, a low chance of rain on Sunday, but those 35-degree low temperatures, we won't be seeing them the rest of the week. I say adios, sayonara, any language I want to put it in. I'm just glad they're gone. Back to the desk.
Thank you, Sean, and thank you for joining us this evening. Remember, your PBS NewsHour is coming up at 7.
And as always, your Florida news is always on at WFT.org. Have a good night. We're back next week.
First at 5. From the University of Florida's College of Journalism and Communications, you're watching WUFT News.
Good evening and welcome to WFT News' First at 5. I'm Fariha Abrar.
And I'm Francis Capper. Thanks for joining us.
A man sentenced to life in prison in 1979 is dead after he was executed on death row last night. His name was Donald Dilbeck. He died by lethal injection.
About 60 people gathered to pray and sing in protest of Dilbeck's execution at the Florida State Prison in Rayford. The protest also attracted the attention of those who anticipated his long-awaited execution.
Prison in Rayford for the scheduled execution of Donald Dilbeck, a man convicted of heinous crimes.
The sentence of the state of Florida versus Donald Dilbeck was carried out at 6:13 p.m.
Many anti-death penalty groups attended the vigil, including Floridians for Alternatives to the Death Penalty, Our Lady of Lourdes, a church in Daytona Beach, and Death Penalty Action. Not everyone united in protest against the execution. In 1990, Dilbeck murdered a woman named Faye Van. She resisted his carjacking attempt. Officers found him after he crashed the vehicle. Van's family issued a written statement. 11,932 days ago, Donald Dilbeck brutally killed our mother. We were robbed of years of memories with her, and it has been very painful ever since. However, the execution has given us some closure. We are grateful to the governor for carrying out the sentence. Florida Department of Corrections spokesperson Michelle Glady summarized Dilbeck's final moments.
The execution went as scheduled and took place without incident. While there were family members there, no one wished to speak at the event this evening.
According to court records, when Dilbeck was 15, he stabbed a man after he was caught stealing a car radio. Then, he stole a vehicle and drove to Florida. There, he killed Lee County Deputy Sheriff Dwight Hall with the deputy's pistol. He was sentenced to life in prison in 1979. In 1990, he escaped prison. 2 days later, he murdered Faye. Dilbeck used his last words to criticize Governor Ron DeSantis. He said, "I know I hurt people when I was young, and I really messed up, but I know Ron DeSantis has done a lot worse." The sun set as Dilbeck was administered his lethal injection.
Because of the pandemic, and then prioritizing for hurricane responses, this was just the third execution under Governor Ron DeSantis. Historically, most two-term Florida governors end up ordering considerably more. Rick Scott set the record with 28 executions.
Some state lawmakers say Gainesville is so far in debt with GRU that some of the operations might need to be sold off. Ophelia Jacobson joins us live outside GRU with more on the scrutiny from a legislative audit. Ophelia, what's been going on?
Well, this is a place where a lot of people feel the pain of GRU bills, and it's a common feeling because the city-owned utility has sometimes the highest residential electric rates in the state. You may have walked behind the doors right behind me to get help paying a bill, but it was in Tallahassee yesterday where a few city leaders felt the pain of an angry audit committee. For more than 2 hours, the Joint Legislative Audit Committee grilled Gainesville officials about last year's audit, mostly focusing on GRU operations and related debt. The biomass plant saga is largely blamed for GRU reaching a whopping $1.7 billion in debt. The city bought out the plan at a premium to escape a lengthy contract of buying that power at high rates. The top Democrat on the committee called for bold business decisions.
I think you guys need to start shedding some assets that you're not good at. You guys got your hands on too many things. You're doing water, you're doing gas, you're doing sanitary, you're doing all these things. And when they all sort of bundle up together and you're concentrating more on debt service than you are on operation and what's actually feasible and what's revenue generating, I think you should take a look at that. If it's just too expensive for you guys to be in the electric business, get out of it.
The senator asked Gainesville to come up with a bold plan before October 1st. The top Republican wants it sooner and warned the audit recommendations cannot be avoided.
Go back and make those bold moves, or we will take action. Now, what action? We will write letters to the governor, ask him to remove you from office, and put people in that will take the bold actions to save the GRU, to save the utility, and then ultimately save the city.
Others said one bold move would be dramatically reducing the amount of money the city takes from GRU each year. Mayor Harvey Ward said Gainesville is trying to trim the next GRU transfer to $34 million, but several committee members said the city should raise taxes and cut jobs and services to dramatically lower or eliminate the yearly GRU transfer. Now, one thing we know for sure is that the audit is focusing a lot on what is going on here in Gainesville with GRU. One audit committee leader said that he would come to town if there are emergency public hearings about how to shake things up for the next budget year. Reporting live from GRU, Ophelia Jacobson, WUFT News.
Thank you, Ophelia. You know, it looks kind of hot out there.
I know. The sweat has been severe, and I've been cranking up the AC in my dorm all week.
Same here. And my utility bills have been feeling it for real. WFT's Sean Humphrey joins us now with the weather forecast. And I need to know, how much hotter is it going to get this weekend?
Well, thankfully, it's not going to get that much hotter, but it will be just as hot as it's been today all weekend. Not much fluctuation in the temperature over much of next week, but I'll give you more of that in the full weather forecast. For now, if we take a look at our storm tracker, we'll see that it's dry, and that's part of why it's so hot outside right now. A high pressure system is in the area, bringing us sunny weather and dry weather. But if you take a look at this evening's forecast, oh, that's the live cam. I'm sorry about that, but it's okay. Sunny skies out there, cirrus clouds. You know cloud names, get to know them. Because cirrus clouds outside right now because of that high pressure. And back to the desk.
Thank you, Sean. The Marion County Board of County Commissioners accepted a donation aimed at deterring crime in the area. WUFT's Chris Will was in Marion County all of today, and he has more on this special gift.
Security and a home. That's what will soon be here at Bellevue Sportsplex after a mobile home was donated to Marion County. The home. It comes in all different shapes and sizes and sets in many different places. Even the middle of the park. At least that's the goal.
So we will dedicate an area of the park. We'll put the mobile home in an area. We'll give them a yard and a place to park.
And it's all thanks to a single donation. An anonymous donor gifted a mobile home to the Friends of Marion County Parks and Recreation Foundation, who then gifted the residents to the county to serve as a home for law enforcement.
So across the park system, we have several places in parks where we have what we call on-site law enforcement presence.
Meaning people from agencies like the Marion County Sheriff's Office and even Florida Fish and Wildlife live in the park.
And having that law enforcement presence at a park is a great deterrent for crime.
Marion County will soon have 6 on-site residence programs spread across the county's parks, all the way south in Bellevue and up to Orange Lake. Marion County Parks and Rec Community Engagement Coordinator Sarah Lambert says the donation came as quite the shock.
So donations like this are fantastic. They allow the community to become more aware of the impact that this organization is providing.
She says the local nonprofit is important in volunteering and fundraising Parks and Rec projects. The group has raised nearly $147,000 for Parks and Rec. The latest donation was evaluated at $52,000. County officials are currently taking appraisals for the movement of that home from its current location. I'm told that it will be here in Bellevue by the end of March. Reporting in Marion County, Chris Will, WFT News.
Thank you, Chris. Security is crucial, and it's intense for parents to ensure the safety of their kids. Today, a family in Hernando County is relieved knowing that their missing youngster has been found alive and safe. Joshua J.J. Rowland was found this morning about 24 hours after he was reported missing. The sheriff says he wandered away from home while a parent was sleeping. After a night of panic, a volunteer searcher found J.J. today in the woods near his home.
Santa Fe College is helping connect job seekers with North Central Florida jobs and build relationships between businesses. The Black Professionals Expo is a 3-day event providing networking opportunities for nonprofit and startup companies. This is the first year the Expo incorporated mini network events leading up to the main conference. With the recent growth in attendance, these sessions provided a broader scope of topics.
It's important for people that are coming beneath me, meaning younger than me, to see that there is power in numbers and there's power in networking together.
Saturday will feature the 5th Black Professionals Leadership Conference starting at 9 a.m.
Coming up at First at 5, today marks 1 year since Russian forces pushed their way into Ukraine. It's also been 1 year since Ukrainians, by the thousands, fled their homes in search of safety.
We bring you the latest on this humanitarian crisis when we return.
You're watching WUFT TV News.
Today marks a year since Russian tanks rolled into Ukraine. Missiles rained down on cities and families fled to the west to the border with Poland.
NBC's Dre Gray was there a year ago on February 24th and is back along the Poland-Ukraine border with the latest on the situation there.
Well, for a full year now, refugees have been pouring across the border from Ukraine into Poland, and nowhere has it been busier than here, the Medyka crossing. In the last year, more than 1 million refugees have come through these gates and into Poland. Of course, some moving on further into Europe, even over to the U.S. And the stream continues, not nearly as intense as it was at the beginning of the war, but still, overall, 20,000 or more a day leave Ukraine and move into Poland. But understand, these borders are a revolving door now. So you've got the families coming in looking for shelter, looking for safety, but you've also got people going back to Ukraine with much needed supplies, and of course some of them joining the fight along the front lines. There is concern that the number of refugees will continue to grow, that this humanitarian crisis will continue to expand, especially if, like most military analysts believe, the fighting intensifies over the next several months. So we'll get into the spring, and that'll make ground war easier for the troops to move, the tanks to get in and out, and so that's going to escalate things. And so they do expect to see more people moving into Poland. The problem for so many of the towns, the villages, even the major cities like the capital city of Warsaw, is that they've reached their limit in a sense. There's just nowhere else for refugees to go. It's been a burden on the budget, obviously, on city and social services, and so they've been reaching out to neighbors here in Europe, to the U.S. to try and ease that burden, and the response has been positive. But again, even a year into all of this, it's still very new and very rapidly changing at times. Again, it would appear that this humanitarian crisis that starts at the border is going to continue to expand as the war does the same. That's the latest right now from here at the Medyka border crossing in Poland. I'm Jay Gray. Back to you.
Francis, I have been loving this warmer weather that we've been having this week, and before we know it, there's going to be time for lemonade stands and ice cream cones.
I know. I'm thinking of heading to the beach myself. I've been practicing my surfer lingo in between breaks, Sean. How's it hanging?
Well, cowabunga, Francis. If you're looking to have some fun in the sun, I'm not a beetle, but here it comes. Warm temperatures this weekend and throughout next week. Stick with us. I'll be back after the break with your full weather forecast. They say if you can't take the heat, then get out of the kitchen. But where do you go when it's this cold? Northern California, east of state capital Sacramento, blizzard conditions. Out here in north central Florida, Olaf and Frosty would be twin puddles. And I don't think they want to build a snowman out in the Golden State either. But out in the Golden State, out in California, you'll see that snow pushing east of the Nevada-California border with that low pressure system out there. Cold temperatures in California. Yesterday, Gators softball dealt with 42-degree weather during their competition against UCLA. But out here in Florida, nice and sunny, that Florida weather that we've become accustomed to because there's a high pressure system out over the state. It would be covering up Gainesville if you could see Gainesville on my map. You got a stationary front north of that high pressure system bringing some slight showers to parts of the southeastern United States. But here in Florida, it's nice, warm, and dry, and it will remain that way heading into tonight and throughout the next week. So as you'll see tonight, the temperatures getting low, but not quite as low as we've seen recently. The low tonight is around 60 degrees. And let's take a look at those low temperatures tonight in north central Florida. The forecasted low 60 degrees for Gainesville, and there's no real outlier here in the low temperatures. But when we get to those highs, it's a little bit different. Here in the lows, 58 degrees in Crystal River, the lowest temperature in the area, pretty uniform across much of north central Florida. Now up to 61 degrees in the Villages. And the high temperatures, like I said, there's an outlier. Cedar Key, 72 degrees. The high temperature there, rather, tomorrow, 85 degrees in Gainesville. So it's not quite sweltering depending on how you look at it, but you might need some sunscreen. And it's good beach weather if you're down somewhere like Daytona where it's 82 degrees tomorrow. So get your umbrellas ready and, well, your sun umbrellas, rather. And check out the weekend outlook. Approaching record highs on Saturday. Last year, the high temperature record for the area was set for that day. 87 degrees was the high that day, but tomorrow it's expected to be around 85 and 84 on Sunday. And if you take a look at the next 6 days, temperatures are uniform over much of north central Florida. 85 degrees the high both Saturday and Sunday, and those highs stick in the 80s over most of the week. The low temperatures in the high 50s, mid to high 60s. So it's pretty consistent, warm and dry. No real chance for rain. And back to the desk.
Thank you, Sean. It is an exciting night for the Gator gymnastics team. Fariha, do you know why?
I think that's because it's senior night, and it's also the last home meet for the Gators. We'll hear more about that meet and more when we come back from the break. Stay tuned.
You're watching WUFT TV News.
Welcome to sports. I'm Gabriella Vitale. We have a huge matchup in Lakeland tonight as the Hawthorne girls basketball team will be looking for a state title as they play Wildwood. Hawthorne defeated Ponce de Leon 50-45 in the Class 1A state semifinals. And tonight, Hawthorne will be going against a Wildwood team who has only one loss on the season. Tip-off for the state championship is tonight at 7. Over on the boys' side, there's 3 local teams advancing to play in regional finals tonight. In the Class 6A regional final, Gainesville takes on Ponte Verde. The Hurricanes come off a 47-42 win over Oakleaf to advance to the final. In the Class 5A regional final, Columbia faces Mainland. And in the Class 4A regional final, Santa Fe High School hosts the Villages Charter. The winners advance to the state tournament. The number 2 Florida gymnastics team takes on number 12 Kentucky tonight. Our Juliana Rickenbaugh is live now. Juliana, what's going on at the O-Dome?
Hey Gabby, the fans are piling in for another edition of Friday Night Pikes. This episode, Senior Night. 6 Gator senior gymnasts are competing for their last time in the O-Dome, including Rachel Bauman, Savannah Shaner, and Trinity Thomas. Thomas has had 25 perfect scores in her career. She only needs 3 more for the NCAA record. But tonight will be rare for another reason. The Gators are coming off their first SEC loss in 28 meets. Last Friday versus LSU, the Gators score took a typical road dip. Still, you have posted the 11th highest score in the nation this year, and they're still in the competition for the SEC championship. They're back against number 11 Kentucky, the only other SEC team with just 1 loss. If the Gators win, the seniors will round off their careers as SEC champions. The meet starts in about 15 minutes and the fans continue to pile in. As you can see, for me, I too will be piling in because I got to see Trinity Thomas one last time. But for now, reporting live from the Exec Arena, I'm Juliana Rickenbaugh. Back to you, Gabby.
Well, thanks, Juliana. Moving to the court, the Gators women's and men's basketball team will be in action tonight. Last night, the women's team took down Alabama 81-77 as they celebrated their senior night. There was no shortage of offense between these two teams. KK Dean's aunt had one of her best performances of the season, ending with 22 points on 5 for 7 shooting, including a 4 for 5 effort from three-point range. The Gators forced 20 Crimson Tide turnovers that helped the Gators' cause. Florida led by 1 point with 2 minutes left in the game as Nina Rickards completed a layup to push the lead to 3. Brashea Kyle knocked down 2 free throws with 28 seconds left to cap the night off with a Gators win. They'll conclude the regular season on Sunday when they play Missouri. The Gators men's basketball team will be in action tomorrow as they travel to Vanderbilt. Florida is looking to bounce back from its 82-74 loss to Kentucky on Wednesday. The Gators have already lost to Vanderbilt once this season, dropping the game in Gainesville 88-80. After losing Colin Castleton to injury, players like Riley Kugel have stepped up in his place. Kugel had a 17-point game against Arkansas and has scored 12 plus in 5 straight games, averaging 17.2 points over that slate. Over in Nashville, tomorrow the Gators are looking to even out its conference record. It'll have to do so against a team in Vanderbilt who has won 5 of its last 6 games. Tip-off will be at 6. The number 7 Florida Gators baseball team begins its 3-game series against Cincinnati tonight. Florida is coming off a devastating loss on Wednesday after giving up a 5-run lead in the 9th inning to USF. Through 5 games this season, the underclassmen in this lineup are not looking intimidated at the college level, as freshman Cade Curlin and sophomore Jack Caglione are leading the Gators offense. Curlin is 6 for 10 with a home run, 2 doubles, and 4 RBIs, and Caglione is batting .500 on the season with 2 home runs and 6 RBIs. The Gators will look to go back into the win column as right-handed pitcher Brandon Sproat will toe the rubber at 6:30.
Before we go, one last check on the weather.
This weather forecast is devoid of tomfoolery. The high pressure system over north central Florida bringing nice warm and dry warm temperatures, but dry weather. No rain expected, no snow expected like you saw in California. And the temperatures will be consistent over the next week. Here is what that will look like over the next 6 days. 85 degrees the high on both Saturday and Sunday. And those lows don't dip quite too low anyways. And back to the desk.
Thank you, Sean. The BBC World News is up next, and the PBS NewsHour is coming up at 7.
But your Florida news is always on at WUFT.org. Have a good night.
First at 5. From the University of Florida's College of Journalism and Communications, you're watching WUFT News.
As the state of emergency in California deepens, Yosemite Park is now closed indefinitely. The recent storms dumped as much as 15 feet of snow.
Crossing the road right in front of us. Right in front of us. Keep going, keep going, keep going. Let's go.
And over in Texas, some storm chasers are having close encounters with tornadoes, while many other people are dealing with damage. Multiple tornadoes cut power to tens of thousands of people in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. From California across the Deep South, more than 90 million Americans are dealing with severe weather. Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Sarah Sowers.
And I'm Francis Capper. The question is, will all the storms stay north of us? WUFT's Nick Mesa is tracking the storms and joins us now with the immediate forecast.
Hi, I'm meteorologist Nick Mesa. Right now, we currently have a pretty strong low pressure system over the Midwest, making its way across into the mid-Atlantic states and the Deep South, bringing some severe weather to Kentucky and Nashville. Over here in north central Florida, though, things are looking pretty clear, pretty warm and windy as well, as you may have noticed this afternoon. High temperatures currently across the region, 82 over here in Gainesville, 82 in Bronson as well, 81 over in Lake City. Check out these sustained winds, though, 40 in Gainesville, 42 in Stark, 43 over in Jacksonville, For this reason, NWS has given a wind advisory through 8 p.m. for wind gusts over 40 miles per hour. As for later on this evening, though, we'll see those temperatures begin to decrease into the mid to lower 70s with a chance for some showers after midnight. Back to you guys.
The GPD K-9 unit is suspended yet again, this time by the city manager. She's hinting that cost cutting may be a factor in further review of the unit. The unit drew scrutiny last summer because of the Terrell Bradley case. Bradley ran away from a police stop of his car. Then he lost an eye when the police dog found his hiding place. The police chief says the officers will now be reassigned to other duties. The dogs will remain in the care of their handlers until a decision is made about the future of the K-9 unit.
Body cam footage shows tense moments during a police stop in Lodi. It happened when a bystander grew concerned about the driver in a traffic stop and came close to check in on him.
Last month, Jessica Kreitzer was driving to Gainesville from Jacksonville Airport when she saw a black man in a traffic stop.
Your driver says I'm not going to ask you again.
She decided to turn around and observe the stop. He was driving on a suspended driver's license. When Kreitzer asked the man in detainment how he was, he said,
Ma'am, are you?
When she approached the scene, Officer Michael Starling turned his attention to her. Officer Starling stated,
No, you're going to exit because now you're obstructing.
While citizens do have the right to bear witness to an arrest, they must stand 8 to 10 feet away. Kreitzer said she was not looking for a confrontation and that she would have just walked away. Lodi Police Captain Nathan Blum agreed with the officer's actions. However, Captain Blum said that the officers could have been more tactful and professional and that he has addressed that. Retired Gainesville police officer and professor of forensic studies at Florida Gulf Coast University, David Thomas, reviewed the body cam footage. Thomas told WUFT that the officers were absolutely right in what they were saying.
United States citizens are protected by their First Amendment rights while observing police on public property. And you can record with your cell phone. To avoid being charged with any crime related to interfering, the experts say to stay 10 feet away, quiet, and out of the direct line of sight. You can later file to ask to review documents and footage and possibly file a complaint. A semi caught in fire after a crash in the southbound lane of State Road 93 in Alachua County. The cab was a total loss from the flames. High Springs and Alachua County Fire Rescue worked to limit the night's fire and prevent the spread from going to the surrounding trees. The truck driver escaped unharmed.
Sometimes we can all use a quick squeeze of a stuffed animal. I personally love my teddy bears. And WUFT's Chris Will tells us how one mother is using those cuddly companions to help her children.
The teddy bear is a simple thing, colorful and cuddly, soft and sweet. An innocent toy with so many playful memories.
He took Chevy everywhere.
Memories that last forever.
That was his best friend.
The best friend of Megan Bishop's 4-year-old son, Taylor.
Taylor was an old soul. I say it all the time. Way wise beyond his years. And he had the funniest jokes and just so vivacious, and I miss him so much. So
I'm finally doing it.
Nearly 2 years ago was the last time Megan saw Taylor hold Chevy.
They always say the first of everything is hard, but when you lose a child, there's so many firsts. His first day of kindergarten was well after the 1-year mark. I'll miss his first t-ball game, his first soccer game. I'll miss his first high school dance. There's still so many firsts that I won't get to see. And that's hard.
A plane crashed into Megan and Taylor's car just outside North Perry Airport.
And while he was in the car, this is the actual bear that he had. There we go. I don't break this bear out very often, so... This is Chevy.
Chevy, a blue Hot Wheels 50-year anniversary Build-A-Bear, was recovered from the accident and returned to Megan's arms.
And after the accident and I had Chevy back, I knew I wanted to do something to make sure that Taylor's legacy would live as long as he was supposed to live. And I knew I wanted it to involve bears because of Chevy.
Megan created a nonprofit that gets stuffed animals to first responders. The goal is to provide children with a little bit of Taylor. And now, Taylor's Teddy Bears has made its way to Gainesville.
Taylor is more than just a boy who passed away in a plane crash. He deserves to be more than that, and so I just wanted the UF community to be involved in that.
Ariel's mom works with Megan at Hollywood Hills Elementary. The drive there brought in 2,700 bears. A bin is set up in the HPNP building at the University of Florida for people to drop off their cuddly friends. Cuddly friends that encapsulate the boy Taylor was and the legacy he represents.
Just that I love him and I miss him. I tell people all the time that the accident seems like yesterday, but it feels like I've lived 100 lifetimes since I got to hold him. And so I just hope I'm making him proud.
The teddy bear is a simple thing. Colorful and cuddly, soft and sweet. An innocent toy keeping a family connected to a soul gone all too soon. Chris Will, WFT News.
The drive at the University of Florida will continue through March 9th. An Amazon wish list will remain up even after that deadline closes. For more information on how you can donate, visit WUFT.org.
In South Carolina, a judge sentences Alex Murdaugh to life in prison for the shooting death of his wife and son. Despite the jury verdict, Murdaugh said he's innocent.
I respect this court, but I'm innocent. I would never, under any circumstances, hurt my wife, Maggie, and I would never, under any circumstances, hurt my son, Pawpaw.
Judge Clifton Newman told him the evidence was overwhelming, pointing out his lies and opioid addiction. The judge said Murdaugh would be haunted by the memories of his family.
And I know you have to see Paul and Maggie during the night times when you're attempting to go to sleep. I'm sure they come and visit you. I'm sure.
All day and every night.
Murdaugh was taken away for processing, medical tests, and a mental evaluation. He's expected to then be sent to a maximum security prison.
The World Health Organization predicts excess deaths of 250,000 per year from 2030 to 2050 due to climate change. A March for Climate Action is going on right now in downtown Gainesville. It started a little more than an hour ago with a gathering at City Hall and a march to Hartward Soundstage. You're looking right now at a scene from the outdoor venue. The event includes speakers, live music, and vendors with a positive environmental message. If you are interested in joining, it's scheduled to last until 8 p.m. tonight. Francis, you know, I'm excited about other events this weekend, kind of like the Strawberry Festival. Have you been?
No, I have not been to the Strawberry Festival, but I might just have to go check it out.
Coming up on WUFT News First at 5, we'll give you more details on the Plant City Strawberry Festival happening this month. Stay with us.
You're watching WUFT TV News.
We all noticed gas prices surge this past year, but your budget is also facing a spike in the cost of car insurance. Drivers nationwide are now paying more than $2,000 a year for car insurance. The company Bankrate crunched the numbers and found over the last year, premiums rose more than 13%.
If you can drive over to Newberry, you'll find a landmark which shows people what a day in the life of a turn-of-the-century farmer looks like. And by that, they mean the start of the previous century. Dudley Farm hosts an annual event called Plowing Up the Past. The event gives the community a glance at rural American history.
A lot of people today don't have a clue where their food comes from. And I think by representing the past, we represent the here and now with respect, and future as well, with respect to agriculture.
The Antique Tractor Show will continue tomorrow from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m.
The 88th Annual Strawberry Festival is underway in Plant City, Florida. People were lined up Thursday morning when the gates opened at 10 a.m. Hundreds of thousands of people are expected to visit throughout the 11-day festival. Highlights include a midway, the kiddie corral, and of course, all kinds of strawberry treats. Willie Nelson, Walker Hayes, Sarah Evans, and Ludacris are some of the scheduled entertainers.
I'm so excited to go to the Strawberry Festival this weekend.
You know, I'll be at the baseball game this weekend. Nick, what is the weather looking like?
Yeah, so some good weather for this evening's game, but tomorrow, not as much. I'll be back after the break to let you know just how that weather will be looking like.
You're watching WUFT TV News.
I'm meteorologist Nick Mesa taking a look at our live cam over the swamp. Some partly cloudy skies as the sun begins to set. Temperatures in those lower 80s, but man, it was warm and windy today. Temperatures reaching almost our daily record high of 89 degrees, reaching almost 88 earlier today. Gusts around 44 miles per hour, winds about 25 miles per hour from the south-southwest. We have a ball game tonight at Condren Family Ballpark. Pretty nice conditions to start off, around the mid to upper 70s around game time, slowly decreasing into the lower 70s as the game progresses. After midnight, though, we'll begin to see the chance for some rain begin to increase into tomorrow morning. Taking a look at our future radar, we see that cold front that I mentioned earlier begin to move in across the state over the region. Gainesville will be waking up to some scattered showers over in the morning. That cold front will begin to progress across the state throughout the day, again bringing a chance for some scattered showers throughout the afternoon. By the early evening hours, though, we'll begin to clear out for a pretty nice Saturday evening. However, Ocala and the villages, you guys still may see some spotty showers later on in the evening. But again, that'll be bringing in for a pretty nice Sunday, back to hot and clear weather. Here in Gainesville, though, tomorrow's forecast starting off again with some scattered showers, temperatures in the upper 60s. By midday, those rain chances begin to decrease, temperatures in the lower 70s. By 3 p.m., temperatures not in the 80s, kind of nice, a nice little break. In the mid 70s, rain chances again decreasing. Saturday, high temperatures across the region, 79 over in Crystal River, 79 over in Ocala, 77 over there in Jacksonville. And then we'll be looking at our weekend planner. So Saturday we'll have, again, starting off in those upper 60s, a chance for some rain, which will be decreasing as the day progresses. Those temperatures, again, not reaching those 80s as that cold front moves through, giving us a break from almost record temperatures throughout this week. By 7 p.m., looking for a pretty nice Saturday evening. As for Sunday, we're back to some nice temperatures in the 80 degrees by midday. Chances for rain beginning to clear out. As your 6-day forecast, a break on Saturday, but returning to those low to mid 80s throughout the week with a chance for some more rain later on next weekend. Back to you guys.
Thank you, Nick. A former Gator baseball champion from Tampa, Florida, receives an honor from his high school. Alonzo High retired their number 20 for Alex Feido before a game last night. You may recall he wore 21 for the Gators. His family was there to witness the honor.
It's a very special moment. Something I, growing up would have never thought would have happened. Being around the field all these years, really, before I was even in high school, no one's jersey were retired. Now we have 3. Jose and Sherman, to be a part of that group right there is very special. Those guys helped me out a ton.
During his Gator years, Feido was the 2017 College World Series Most Outstanding Player. He's one of just 3 former students from Alonzo High School to have his jersey number retired.
All this talk of baseball makes me want to go to the baseball park tonight. Sarah, do you want to go?
I think so. I've never been to a baseball game before, and I've always wanted to. Juliana, are you in?
Oh, I'm so in. It's going to be a big series versus Miami. I will say, though, during the 7th inning stretch, I may have to check the gymnastics meet. It's number 1 versus number 2 for the Gators, and I've got more coming up on that after the break.
You're watching WUFT TV News.
Welcome to sports. I'm Juliana Rickenbaugh. So we meet again is what number 2 Florida Gymnastics could say to number 1 Oklahoma. The Swimmers just barely beat the Gators in the national championship last year. But as UF heads Norman tonight, the Gators don't seem to be talking about the past.
It's something that so far has gone unspoken, and really we just need to focus on what we do every day in the gym, and
if we go out and do the gymnastics that we practice every single day, we know that we have a chance of coming out on top.
It's always a great opportunity to compete against Oklahoma, especially on their home floor in Norman. It's going to be a very energetic, lots of passion, lots of energy.
The Gators have that energy in their gym and have been upping the ante heading into this meet.
The internal drive of this team, week to week, pushing themselves, really pushes everybody else around them. So it's been really fun to see that happen on bars. Really, it's been a strong event for us.
Especially last Friday. You have scored a nation season high event score at 49.8. Still,
the peak is not there yet. We've had several amazing competitions on Friday nights, yet we haven't put 4 events all together.
Tonight at 9 seems like a better time than ever to stick those landings. Front flips to potential bat flips, the Gator baseball team takes on Miami today. Our Gabby Vitale is live at Condren Ballpark. Gabby, how many home runs should we expect to hit tonight? 2, maybe 3?
Oh, Juliana, I think I'm taking the over on the long balls today. Miami must have brought the hurricane with them because it is a windy day here as fans are piling into Condren Ballpark. Other than this being a top rivalry, it is also a top 25 matchup as the Florida Gators are number 6 and the Miami Hurricanes are number 22. Florida has taken 7 of the last 8 series and took 2 out of the 3 last year in Coral Gables. For the Florida baseball bats, they've been dominant to start the season, recording double-digit hits in 9 of 10 games. And it's been a complete yard party as the Gators have launched multiple home runs in each of the last 5 games. And the NCAA home run leader is none other than Jack Caglione, who leads the nation with 8 long balls and has won in 6 of his last 7 games. Brandon Sproat will toe the rubber tonight for the Gators with Hurston Waldrop tomorrow and the two-way Jack Caglione on Sunday. Reporting live from Condren Ballpark, I'm Gabriella Vitale. Back to you, Juliana.
Thanks, Gabby. Moving over to the softball diamond, the Gators haven't had quite as much success scoring runs lately. They dropped 3 of 4 games last weekend. Florida got blanked against the 2 ranked opponents they played. The Gators lost 10-0 to number 1 UCLA and lost 8-0 to number 22 Oregon. In fact, Florida scored just 11 runs in the 4 games of the tournament. But today, the number 8 Gators return to action in the Southeast as they begin a 3-game series at Alabama-Birmingham tonight at 7. Gator men's basketball will celebrate senior night tomorrow when LSU comes to town. The Gators will honor Jason Tobo, Kyle Lofton, and the injured Colin Castleton. While Myron Jones will also be graduating, he will not participate this year after celebrating his senior day last year. But a bigger question going into this game might be the future of freshman Riley Kugel, who has scored in the double figures in his last 7 games. The Gators tip off against LSU at 6. In their first meeting this year, Florida wins 67-56. We keep talking about Gator Emma Lopinto. It's just because she's that good. Through 4 games, the sophomore has scored 15 goals. On Tuesday, though, the whole Gator lacrosse team pitched in for 20 goals against Furman, good for the number 7 Gators to move to 2-2. Up next, you have host Arizona State Sunday at noon. That's your sports. Now back to the desk.
Thanks, Juliana. Meet Aber clam Lincoln. Scientists in Florida say this mollusk is 214 years old based on the layers on its shell. That means it has been alive since 1809, the same year as its namesake, former President Abraham Lincoln. Gulf Specimen Marine Laboratories says an AmeriCorps member named it Blaine found it while walking with his family. They say it's an ocean quahog clam, a type that can live for more than 200 years, as evidenced by Aber clam Lincoln.
And before we go, let's take one last check on the weather.
For those of you headed to the Strawberry Festival tomorrow, things looking not too good in the morning, but things clearing up later in the day. Taking a look at your 6-day forecast. Once again, returning back to the lower 80s by early next week.
Thank you, Nick. BBC World News is up next, and PBS NewsHour is coming up at 7.
But your Florida news is always on at WUFT.org. Have a good night.
Us.
2 more tragic accidents in Alachua County, each claiming the life of someone walking.
A woman walking her dog last night in Gainesville, a child crossing to a playground this morning in Alachua. The cases add to a string of pedestrian deaths that have become a major focus. Some deaths have been hit and runs, including one last weekend, but not in these cases. In the city of Alachua, a pickup hit a 5-year-old boy just after 7 this morning. It happened at a crosswalk on Hip Way that links a neighborhood to a park. There's a light-up crosswalk sign, but the lights were not working today, and bystanders tell us it was foggy. The Highway Patrol says everyone needs to stay aware. There could be all kinds of traffic around, people on foot, on bikes or scooters, or in large vehicles.
That's the reason it's important for motorists and all users of the road to recognize what their duties and responsibilities are and what their role is and how they can help to traverse the road in the safest manner possible.
In another pedestrian, a van hit a woman walking her dog last night along Northwest 53rd Avenue in Gainesville. FHP says in both of these cases, the drivers were stopped and waited for law enforcement.
A North Central Florida man is now behind.
New Florida legislation is making changes to the bookshelves in our community's public schools. This new Florida legislation is HB 1467. HB 1467 requires materials in public school libraries to be pre-approved by media specialists before students can read them. The legislation also requires that these media specialists complete a state-provided training guiding what they should censor. Alachua County Library District Public Relations and Marketing Manager Brad McKinley said in the Alachua County Library District, it is their mission to provide materials that allow our community to participate, connect, and discover. That's in accordance with library policy, the American Library Association's Library Bill of Rights, and the Freedom to Read Statement.